out. Here's trouble over a bit of Jim Does Supercoach, AFL SUPERCOACH. Round 8's in the bag. We're looking ahead to round 9. And I'll tell you what, third of the season done and chaos is everywhere. But hey, at least, touch wood, for this week, we're not dealing with any massive, huge, crazy, major injuries. So that's kind of nice. Anyway, how'd we all go for round 8? I managed to actually pull off the vice-captain loophole with Luke Jackson. It was all a bit squirrely because obviously he played Friday night at the same time as like all these dogs and obviously the showdown was all happening as well. He rips off a 143. I managed to get Zach Kotelski into R2, McAndrew into R3 as an emergency just in time. So I was like, right, rolling the dice there. Hopefully Zach Kotelski doesn't play for the Saturday, but geez, managed to actually get there. But the big problem was the rest of my team stunk. 21-38 I managed to score in the end. That's like, I don't know, what? I'm now ranked 22,769 overall. Not that great, but, what's that, top 12%? So you'll take it, but it should be better. What let us down this week, Jim? Well, I'll tell you what, Caleb Sarong stunk it up again. 63, breaking my heart. Sam Walsh against the Saints was brutal, 71. Even like Lockie Neal managing the 92 against the Bomb Rays wasn't very, very fun at all. But then elsewhere, like Sicily had 87, had a couple of really dumb clangers there that really hurt his Supercoach score. Also tweaked a bit of an ankle. Sinclair was a bit down as well against the Blues. Todd Marshall was on ground for me, just not very good. Probably would have been better with Leo Lombard in retrospect, but what are you going to do? So yeah, just a sort of depressed total overall score despite actually nailing the Luke Jackson swing. So anyway, what are we looking at this week though, Jim? What are we looking at? Well, we've got like basically a couple of issues that we're going to deal with, some big questions that are floating around, and essentially you're looking at who's being traded in, who's being traded out. And the big thing for me right now is it's upgrade season. We're hitting to that, just the tipping point for a very large swathe of our rookies, mid-prices, whatever, where they're topping out. Essentially where they'll get to, their break-evens are getting above their average. If they have like a little bit of a quiet week, as you saw with Sam Grill, Farrow, Jai Sarong, all losing money this week. Like you've now got Goddard with a break-even of 91 next week as well, after his score cycle went past his ton. He managed only a 57. But so this, for me, is going to be the big question, right? Who are you cutting bait with? Why? And who are you going to? It's upgrade season. The cool thing is we've actually got a couple of neat little cash cows still floating around. Thank you very much, Richmond injury list. But the big thing is upgrade, downgrade. Last week felt like a little bit of a luxury. Now it's getting to absolute nut crunch time where we need to make a decision and you need to stick with it, right? So a couple of big ones for me. Xerri. Do you go on Xerri right now where he's playing Grundy this week, though they are playing at Marvel? He's got a break-even of 90. Xerri, you do feel like with the addition of the flex spot, my plan will be to have Luke Jackson, Grundy, and Xerri. I have Jackson and Grundy at the moment. I've got Lockie McAndrew sitting there. With his 91 this week, I'll keep him in my team and use him hopefully as a bit of a springboard to Xerri at some point when I cull another nicely fattened rookie. But Xerri, I think if you want to go now this week, that's okay. His break-even's 90, so he's probably going to go vaguely past that. He'll keep rising, but hopefully it won't be a giant, massive, terrifying score. And even if he has like a slightly quiet one, who knows what could happen there. But that's where we're at. So Cherry's a big one. Bont is the other big sort of news this week, right? So Bont, I've got Bont. He had managed 118 this week on one leg, basically. But we've already got Bevo coming out. Look, he probably needs a rest. And you're like, oh, God. Here we go. Bont's going to get bevoed. Oh, that's a worry. So you've got Bont over there maybe being rested. You've got that sort of floating around the back of your head. The nice part is we've also got a couple of cheap Premos sitting there that are ripe for the plucking in Hugh McCluggage, Finn Callahan, couple of other ones there, like even if you want to jump on Caleb Sarong at his absolute bottom out price, I've already got him. And tell you what, it's not fun. But I'm going to stick fat because he's a primo. And sideways trading primos is just super coach purgatory. So with all this in mind, you look at the trade-ins, the trade-outs this week. The players who have been traded out are the sort of, the names that you would likely expect, right? It is a long list of fattened rookies. You go to Sam Grill, Jacob Farrow, Tanner Broon, Jai Sarong, Tom Blamires, Jagger Smith, Lockie Jack, Sam Lawler after his Achilles problem, Caleb Sarong, look out, and Lockie McAndrew, which is fine if you want to jump off him and you can go to Xerri this week. It's okay. But, Lockie McAndrew's break-even is down to 66, and he's actually got two very, very good matchups, I think, in the next couple of weeks where I think they've got Richmond and then North. So he managed a 91 against Port. He might have another big score against Richmond. That could help him sort of, just add a little bit more to that price, and then you can move on. But the cool thing is with those cheap primos, what I'm looking at is doing the double upgrade. I'll get to that in a second. But I think what you can see with these culling of the rookies, Sam Grill, 302K. Jacob Farrow, 306K. Broon, 390K as a mid-pricer coming into the season. And Jai Sarong, 318K. They all lost money this week. So that's the absolute tipping point for them, right? Jump off all of them if you need to. That's all fine. I'm also okay with jumping on Goddard this week. He's got a break-even of 91. That's very high. Even though he's playing Essendon, I'm okay with jumping off him. Blamires, I still think his role is pretty good. They've got a really nice game at Marvel this week against, yes, Sydney are very good, but I expect that to still be a bit of a shootout. Break-even 57. If you have to move on from him, I'm okay with that. But 57, I'll probably keep him. Jax is at 53. If he's playing, I'm okay with it. Jagger, look, break even of 48. He might still get there. He might not lose money, but he's not going to be making it hand over fist. They play the Blues this week and to get their heads kicked in, I reckon, the Blues. So Todd Marshall's another one. Break even of 31, was stinking it up early. And 100%, I'm like, rage trade, gone. See ya. The break-even of 31, though, this week, I'm just saying there's a little bit of a chance he sticks around because, he is playing at the Adelaide Oval. He's against the Western Bulldogs. I feel like he'll get plenty of the ball. So if you don't have to move off him, he's probably fine. And with the break-even of 31, he might still have a couple of nice, decent price rises with him. So anyway, so those are a bunch of them. You think about Angry Anderson. He managed a 20 this week as well, which isn't great. A lot of people have got him now. Break even of 55. That's a bit of a rough one too. And I'd say even Selwood. He's for the Dogs. Michael Selwood at break even is 60. Break even of 37 rather. And you're just like, oh, okay. If they're gonna play them, that'd be kind of decent. He had a 59 this week, so he's just sort of keeping on. Be nice for him to get over 300. But so I guess my biggest point is you can move on from just about any of the rookies if you're upgrading. I'm okay with it. Even what I'm probably going to have to do, spoiler alert, this week is Josh Lindsay might have to go bye-bye. He's got a break-even of 8. He'll likely make a bit of cash still. The Eagles do come over here to play Melbourne at Marvel, of all places, on Sunday. But Lindsay, I think, is one of the ones that I have to basically get rid of in order to get to a number that brings in 2 primos for me. So if I can sacrifice 3 rookies, bring in 2 primos and a Tom Burton, again, that's what I'm going to do this week. I'm okay with it, right? Because I've still got enough sort of rookies floating around making just enough cash that hopefully it doesn't dry out terribly and I don't get stuck with a D5, D6 or a forward 5, forward F6 that just stinks. But, I'm upgrading while I can, so let's get to it. I'm holding Lockie McAndrew still. I'm holding Sam Flanders. Stupid Sexy Flanders only managed 69 against the Blues, but he's got a revenge game this week against his old team, the Gold Coast Suns. That's up in Darwin. I think he'll be all right up there. So break even a 121. He's basically the guy that you can just keep in your forward line. If you want to jump from him to a primo at some point, if you think he's going to lose a bunch of cash, the break even of 121, he'll probably maybe drop it's projected maybe around 13K. But then he's got Richmond at Marvel. He's then got Freo, Hawthorn, Sydney. It's a bit weird, but he might be all right. He's still got like 117, 83, 88, 93 in his last 4 of his last 5 weeks. So proven scorer. I'm okay if he's your last forward upgrade, right? And that's kind of like how some of these guys go. Like even Sarong will be in that sort of position for me. Like if he just stinks it up all year, I'll hopefully just have like a point where I'm replacing him as at mid-8, and then we sort of deal with that as we go. So basically, I'm all for being as ruthless as we can be with some of our rookies, because it's nice to have that little bit of cash from someone like a Farrow or a Goddard. If they pop off again one more week, you'll have that a little bit of seller's regret. Josh Lindsay, break even of 8. He's almost guaranteed to make money, but by the same token, he's helping me get to 2 primos that will probably outscore him for the rest of the way by a large swathe, so I'm going to jump off. The thing is, we can do that because we've got some cash cows this week. We've got Sam Cumming from the Tigers, break even to -54. He's at 176k though, so I don't mind Tom Burton a little bit more at 99k. Save myself 80 grand, break even to -44. That allows me to do the double upgrade this week. Jed Buslinger is the other one that's on, everyone's sort of radar at 215k, break even to -66. He's been very, very, very good for this injury-stricken Dogs team. How long is he going to stick around in that team, however? When Rory Lobb comes back, when O'Donnell comes back, does Buslinger just stick around? Or will he get bevoed? And how much money can he make in the interim, I guess, is the big question. So at 215k versus someone like 99k of Burton, it's a bit different. William Edwards as well, 119k. He's a break-even to -27 for the Swans. Connor McKenna, 121k. I don't really trust his job security that much. Artie Jones still got a break-even to -44. But again, just very hit and miss. But essentially, because you've got Sam Cumming and Tom Burton, Will Edwards, even McKenna, we've got some options there if you like their role. Doing a double downgrade this week is actually probably not that bad if you want to free up some cash. But with the likes of McCluggage, Callahan, even Petrarca sort of still sitting around. And if you look at the players who are being traded in this week, that's where it sort of lands, right? It's Sam Cumming, it's Tom Burton, it's Buslinger, it's Petrarca at 4, Xerri at 5, Bont at 6 as people are jumping on him at 584k. I'd probably still wait on Bont just because we don't know if he's going to play this week. If he gets rested, you're just like, reverse. But it feels like it's just sort of hanging over his head at some point, isn't it? Finn Callahan's at 7 at 499k. You've got Cozzy still at 555. He was very, very good this week, and now they have the Eagles, so I'm happy that I brought Cozzy in. He saved his score very late against the Swans, but then you got Will Edwards at 9 and then Hugh McCluggage at 469k. The McCluggage thing, I'm just like, they have got the Blues this week at home, so they probably will smash them. He probably will do a fairly decent job. The track record, like he's sort of warming back into the season. We know he's been a proven Supercoach scorer in the past, but this year he's managed an 89, 50, 85, 99. So he's trending in the right direction. They play Carlton, Geelong, GWS at NG, then Freo at the Gabba, and then Gold Coast. My beloved Gold Coast are people's first for a Q clash. McCluggage, I don't know, his break-even this week is pretty tasty. 98. He might drop a little bit more. Who knows? Against the Blues, they'll probably kill him though. So I think you can sort of take your pick out of that. I'm prioritizing getting in Petrarca whilst I can. He's at 562. He was randomly, he's still got a break-even to 91, so it's going to be tough to get him in otherwise. And then you sort of look at Max Holmes, Bailey Smith, these sorts of guys that if you don't have them, you basically need to be figuring out ways to do that and planning ahead. And that's kind of what I've been doing. So this week, I'll be looking at that double upgrade just to sort of help hopefully boost that floor score of mine. So yeah, Bont, I'd probably wait. Sarong, he's in 25% of teams. I'd probably just keep him because he's got an 85 average over his last 5, but he could also just start going massive out of nowhere. Freo have looked really good. They've got a home game this week against Hawthorn. Who knows where they're sort of, if the tag comes, if it goes to Brayshaw, if it goes to Sarong, I don't know, but fingers crossed, Sarong's all right. Sardis is another interesting one. If you're stuck with Sardis, just keep an eye on Brad Scott, see what he's up to. The other big one I think is floating around is like trying to figure out the Rochelle-Rankin setup there in Adelaide. It's almost like they're cancelling each other out in terms of Supercoach scoring. for the minute, I'm sort of just holding off. Shea Bolton's another one. You're just like, I don't want to get sucked in again. It's the Shea Bolton experience. He rips off some massive scores. You go, ha, there's one of our top 6 forwards. And then he stinks it up. Hayden Young being a DPP at some point is a really interesting idea, so I'm going to keep an eye on that. Jason Horne-Francis, if you brought him in, he was okay, but no, I think he only managed 75 in the showdown, so not great. But basically, what I'd be looking for this week is trying to get a couple of those decent primos in. If it's a one up, one down, if you don't want to boost, that's cool. I'm probably going to boost this week just because it means I can get 2 primos in for cheap while I can. I don't want to miss the boat on Callahan because despite with him, having a pretty decent break even this week, he is, however, playing Essendon. So break even a 124, and he just ripped off a 110. He had 135 against Richmond, a 124 against Collingwood already this year, a 120 against the Dogs. And GWS kind of really need him. So they play Essendon and West Coast the next 2 weeks. So I want to jump on Finn Callahan while I can. So I think that's worth a boost to get who I believe will be a top 8 midfielder at the end of the season into my team right now while I can. So the one thing to keep an eye on, though, with your upgrades, if you've already got Track or somebody like that, essentially trying to figure out the pods that you really, really like, I guess. Like if your defenders, mids and forwards, if you've got 4, 5 are like the top scorers at the end of the season, you're in great position, right? But you got to have that one pod to sort of stand out and hope that they pop off. Because I think the top scorer across the rest of the season, right, is probably where you want to be looking at. You don't want to look at what's happened. We need to be looking at what will happen from here on out. It's why like having Dan Houston in your team is just like, he was good this week. It'll probably be a bit of a roller coaster, but he'll probably still be a top 6 defender. And if you've traded him out, you've probably traded him in at some point. You're burning trades. So sticking fat with your primos for the minute, trying to get as much information as we can, and then we go from there. So we've talked about the cash cows. We've talked about the trade-ins and trade-outs. Talked about your pods. Talked about the sort of other news. I guess the other one is LDU with his hammy. Keep an eye on that if you've got LDU. That's not good. So what am I going to do? As I said, I can't be, led by my heart. You got to go with your brain here a little bit. So Josh Lindsay's going to have to go out for me because I don't have enough cash gen for some of these other rookies. So I'm going to say goodbye to Josh Lindsay, Phoenix Goddard, who I love. Break even to 97, even against the Bombers, is a bit rough. And Jacob Farrow, because I think between those 3, that gets me to being able to bring in Christian Petrarca, Finn Callahan, and then I'll throw Tom Burton in there as well, just because I think he'll get plenty of chances to play. Because Richmond have got no one else. Their injury list was at 17 players, and they had to add Prestia to it already. So, yeah, it's not great. So as long as Burton gets a name this week, I think he comes in for me. So that's where I'm going to land at. So I think that leads my team with the round 9 team reveal as Naz, Sinclair, Sicily, Houston. I think I'll be switching Blum Myers into the back line, and with Farrow gone as well, probably Carroll goes into the back line as well. You got Selwood and Jacks on the bench for me. With the Dogs playing Port Adelaide this week in Port Adelaide, I don't know if I can trust either of them on field. Carroll wasn't too bad the last couple of weeks. I mean, we know that he can score, but a 57 is a bit rough. And that's the sort of thing that I'm looking at. I'm like, I need to upgrade one more defender at least. In the midfield, Butters, Dacos, Bont, Lockie Neal, Sam Walsh, Caleb Sarong, Callahan, and then probably playing Milan Murdoch on field ahead of Rechko, maybe. The Tigers play Adelaide at the G. Rechko might be a little bit of a chance, but Murdoch, he's been a little bit up and down, obviously, but I think we might trust him one more time. Rucks will be Luke Jackson, Lockie McAndrew, with Zach Katalski still on the bench. Keep it up, ZZ Top. The forwards, we're going Shees, obviously Cozzy, Stupid Sexy Flanders, Petrarca, Braden Cook, and probably Todd Marshall ahead of Lombard and Will Lewis, who managed a 55, by the way, which is kind of nice. So he's making just that little bit of cash on my bench for me. And Brodie Grundy's still sitting there on my flex. So in terms of the vice captains and the captains this week, so often you're just sort of looking, all right, who's playing North and their defense? Who's playing Essendon and their defense? So GWS, Callahan's probably an interesting one, I'm just saying. But it's interesting because you got Xerri and Grundy playing against each other. You got Max Gawn playing West Coast. So if you got Gawn up against the Eagles, even with their double ruck, if they name Max Heath, maybe we step away from Maximus Gornicus. But if you're playing, against Essendon, Finn Callahan is an interesting one. If you've got Lockie Whitfield, probably a very interesting one. Max Holmes against the Pies. They just bleed points to halfbacks, so that's a pretty good one. The Lions against the Blues. Lockie Neal at home against Carlton should probably eat, which would be good. And usually be like, what about Bont at Port Adelaide? Loves a bit of the Adelaide Oval. Just on that one leg, it's a bit of a how you going. And even Butters, I don't know how he'd go against the rest of that Dogs midfield. Dacos is one to keep an eye on against the Cats, but you'd assume that he gets Ocean Mullened. And yeah, outside of that, so I think what I'd be looking at this week, you got Luke Jackson obviously against the Hawks, but that's at home. Might throw the VC on him again just to sort of see how he goes, or the VC on Lockie Neal. And then the captaincy spot will you'll probably just sort of kick the tires and go, right, maybe we go Grundy against Xerri. Maybe we go Bont against Port. Butters, possibly. But Callahan against the Bombers is a really interesting one. So coming straight into my team and maybe getting straight up with the captaincy. Petrarca against the Saints. Don't know so much about that one up there in the NT. We'll see you in the NT, but yeah, I think it's a pretty tough week for that captaincy pick, to the point where I might just end up saving the best for last and throwing the C on Cozzy up against the Eagles at Marvel. He could go absolutely huge. So that's probably where I'll land. So I might end up going, right, the VC on Lockie Neal, maybe think about Callahan against the Bombers, but then probably Cozzy with the C for me this week. Because I think up in the Northern Territory with like Track for the Suns and the Saints, you've got Naz. Maybe he's an interesting one up there, but I kind of trust Cozzy at this point. Yeah. So there you go. That's the round 9 team reveal. Hope you're feeling pretty good about your team this week. Hope your trades are pretty good. I think after this I'll have 2 boosts and 22 trades left, which I feel okay about. Like having a couple of boosts still up the sleeve during, this upgrade. So I had 3 coming into this week. I'll use one this week and be left with 2 and 22 trades. So I feel okay about that. So let us know how you're going. Let us know what trades you're making this week. Let us know what you think about these fallen primos, what you think about Bont. What are you going to do with Bont? Are you going to get Xerri? Hit us up. Let me know. Give us a shout. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on all of the socials, obviously. Jim Does Supercoach. All right, here's to a big AFL round 9 and happy super coaching.